One day, I needed to buy something for dinner. It was much easier when my parents did the grocery shopping. Independent life is overrated. Okay, what do we have here? Cereal, macaroni and cheese, soda. I'm not getting candy. That's too much. Damn, it happened again. Please, no. I need to check your pockets, ma'am. No, watch the cameras if you have to. Okay, let's watch them together. We went into a small room with a bunch of screens. The guard pressed a couple of buttons and I saw myself on the screen. I was walking past the candy shelf, grabbing some with my left hand and putting them in my pockets. I knew it was happening again. How embarrassing! I put my hand in my pocket and pulled out the candy. Oh, what a night! Let me tell you about myself. My name is Laura. I'm 18 years old. I'm from Queens, and I'm known in many local stores. But I'm not a thief. I always pay for my purchases. It's just, it happens on its own. It's hard to explain, but you'll understand after you hear it. 2 days after that incident, I was out for a walk and ran into a guy I went to high school with. He was very handsome. I thought he wouldn't recognize me and just pass me by, but that's not what happened. I felt like the heroine of a romantic film. I probably looked stupid, but I just couldn't help but smile. Dylan smiled back at me. I got excited, but remembered just in time that I wasn't a schoolgirl anymore. I decided to take a chance and ask him out. Why not? Listen, if you're free, maybe we could, Oh, I didn't expect you to be so outgoing. What? I just wanted to invite you to the movies. I'm sorry. I just thought it just slipped out. I'm so clumsy. It was awkward, but Dylan seemed to like it. I was relieved. I was excited, too, because we had agreed to meet that night. Oh, I had been dreaming about this date for so long. It would be perfect. I had to try. The movie started. I scooted closer to Dylan. My plan was to snuggle up to him when it got scary. I was a little nervous. Oh no, not now! I decided to quickly cling to Dylan so that he wouldn't suspect me. My plan worked. He hugged me back. Hey, I get that you're turned on, but there are people here. If you want, I can get away from you. I'm talking about your hand on my pants. You are something else, Laura. Can I have my soda? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to! What is wrong with you? Dylan walked out. I ran after him. I was so embarrassed by how I was behaving. I had to explain everything to him before it was too late. I didn't want to do this. Sorry. I'm sick. And I just can't control it. I wanted to tell him everything, but suddenly I felt so offended. I saw how angry Dylan was. At that moment, I knew he wasn't going to understand me. I couldn't hold back my tears and just ran away. It's time to tell you everything. When I was a kid, I fell off a carousel on Coney Island and hit my head. Hard. I recovered, but since then, my left hand has been living its own life. I just can't control it, especially when I'm worried. I have to avoid stress. Doctors call it alien hand syndrome. Because of this, my life is full of these kinds of failures. I wish my hand was only stealing food. It just loves molesting people. I can't even count how many guys I've touched. It was like another person had moved in and hated me. When I do my hair, my left hand ruffles it up. When I button my buttons with my right hand, the left hand unbuttons them. When I get myself a chair, my left hand pushes it away. Oh, and my father is the only person it hates more than me. It once took a trimmer and cut off his hair. Because of stress, I had a relapse. It was terrible. I thought someone had snuck into my house and attacked me. I don't even know if I feel relieved that it was my own hand. Do I need to handcuff you again for the night? For a second, I thought about what Dylan would say if he saw handcuffs in my bedroom. After all that my hand did, the thought made me smile for the first time that day. But then I remembered that we had broken up, and I got sad again. That night, there was a knock on my door. Who could it be? Dylan? My hand and I were very surprised. I quickly ran to open the door because I needed to apologize to him. I'm sorry that my hand accosted you on our first date. I told him everything, and I was worried in vain because Dylan really understood. It turned out that he had Googled the information from the card that I had given him all night. We decided to give each other a second chance. I had a great movie collection at home. This time, we chose comedy. Oh, sorry. It's very jealous. Then I have to decide which one of you I choose. Hey, that's not fair. Oh, our relationship will definitely not be easy. But I am very grateful that Dylan has agreed to go through this with me. I'm glad that I was able to share my funny story with you. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Alice. I'm 18 years old. If you were to meet my brother on the street, you wouldn't notice anything unusual about him. He's a tall, pretty, handsome 16-year-old boy. But if you had X-ray vision, you would be horrified, because inside his skull, where a brain should be, it's empty. It was a normal Sunday evening, and my parents and I were playing Monopoly. Kevin was 8 at the time. Suddenly, he fell to the floor and his whole body began to shake. That's when the nightmare began, and it continues to this day. Doctors diagnosed him with epilepsy. Worldwide, 1 in 15 people suffers from this disease, and it seemed fairly non-life-threatening. But as days passed, the number of seizures increased to 20, 30, and then 40 per day. After another examination, it turned out that Kevin had a much more serious and dangerous disease. Ramosine encephalitis is a rare inflammation of the brain. My parents were offered a solution, an operation that could help my brother, but they couldn't decide whether to do it. Meanwhile, Kevin wore a protective helmet around the house so as to not injure himself during his falls, the number of which was growing. I once counted 60 in a day. With the seizures came loss of consciousness, impaired speech, and memory loss. He began to limp on his left leg. No matter how terrible the operation seemed, it couldn't go on like this anymore, and my parents decided to move forward with the operation. So, 8 years ago, a little more than half of the brain was removed from my brother. The entire right hemisphere and parts of the adjacent tissues. After the operation, Kevin woke up half paralyzed. His entire left side became weak and ceased to function. He lost vision in his left eye and he couldn't speak normally. It was awful to see him like that. Then there was intensive therapy for 10 hours a day. Doctors said that the human brain, especially the child's brain, is amazing, and over time, the left hemisphere should take on the functions that the right one used to do. We saw this prediction realized with our own eyes. It seemed like a miracle, but gradually the left side of his body began to work. The vision in his left eye was restored, and most importantly, he began to speak again. But everything turned out to be more complicated than we thought, because shortly after this joy, another shock awaited us. Kevin began asking us whether the operation was successful and when he could go home. He did this every day. It turns out that they had removed the part of Kevin's brain which was responsible for long-term memories. So, every morning when he'd wake up, he couldn't remember what had happened the day before. He could only remember events before the operation. New events seemed to be erased from his memory every night. My parents seemed crushed. I always bought fresh comics to the hospital, and Dad would read aloud to Kevin, but then I stopped buying new ones and just read the same one every day. Every day, it was as if he was hearing it for the first time. One day, when I was reading the comic for the 50th time, he suddenly finished a line for me. He even knew what was going to happen to the heroes next. His memory was returning. It took Kevin a little over a year to fully recover. His left hemisphere has been working properly for 2 years now. Yet, he's still not the same Kevin he once was. He has become very reserved and holds a lot of things in. He communicates with few people and spends more time alone reading, drawing, or writing in his journal. But none of that is important, because the main thing is that he is with us, albeit with only half a brain. Thank you for listening to my story and the story of my family. Wish us luck with my brother.